Hi, I'm Karen MacNeil, and welcome to WineSpeed.com's People to Know, insider interviews with the most fascinating and important people in the wine business. And today we're at Stoller Family Winery with Melissa Burr, who is the Vice President of Winemaking. And Melissa, I read that when you started as a young intern at Cooper Mountain, I think, you were there, and 4 days before the harvest, the winemaker left, and you were just plunged right into the hot seat. What was that like?
Well, it was just like that, just really hitting the ground running. And I was thrilled. I really wanted to have an internship there. They grow their fruit organically and biodynamically, and it's really important to me. So I bugged them for a long time, got the job, and then just dove in. So I saw it as a great opportunity with a lot of stress involved as well.
Yeah. Well, and your rise really to the vice presidency of winemaking here at Stoller, I mean, that's pretty meteoric. That's quite incredible. Tell us about that. How did that occur?
Sure. So I was at Cooper Mountain in 2001 as the intern who started after the winemaker quit, and I was there 2001 and 2002. And then in 2003, I connected with the Stoller family and had heard about a position that was opening to be the winemaker for this burgeoning project. They had a large vineyard at the time, but they wanted to start making their own label, still at Cooper Mountain, and I ended up getting that position just late summer of 2003. And I stayed at Cooper Mountain for that harvest, and then started with Stoller Family Estate in fall of 2003 after harvest at Cooper Mountain. And from there, it's been 16 years now that I've been a part of Stoller, and I've really seen the growth. When I started in 2003, I made less than 1,000 cases for Bill Stoller at Chehalem Winery that he co-owned at the time, and then helped grow that production very slowly, helped design the facility that we are interviewing in right now, which was constructed in 2005. And at that time, it was the world's first LEED Gold certified winery, and that was something that I was really fortunate to be a part of, just the whole operation design of this facility, gravity flow, really specific for our vineyards, lot sizes and fermentation for Pinot Noir. Move production here, and have been a part of this brand as we've grown to now where we are in size. We've got this winery. We have a beautiful tasting room on the property. The vineyard's doubled in size. We have a second facility at the estate here. And Bill Stoller now owns Chehalem Winery completely. He bought out his partner a little while ago. And so the whole project has turned into a much larger endeavor, but it's been very interesting for me to have been here for the time that I have and watched it evolve.
Yeah. Explain what LEED means, and also I know that you had been very interested early as a young woman in naturopathic medicine, and so it's no surprise that you're interested, I guess, in biodynamics and organic viticulture. But tell us about LEED, and also about why you think organic viticulture and biodynamics are so important.
Well, LEED, starting off with your question, is a certification for buildings, commercial buildings. It's leadership in energy and environmental design. And it's a accreditation that involves a lot of monitoring, a lot of point accumulation. So when we started off building this facility in 2005, that was the goal that Bill Stoller wanted to achieve. He has a lot of pride of ownership of his land and likes to do things very sustainably. So we went about this and made the winery. A lot of what went into getting that accreditation was to source local materials, to have very energy efficient appliances, have a lower input of energy usage for the building. We have solar panels on the estate, and now we have solar panels across the campus here. We've got a large array on the tasting room, making it virtually a net zero tasting room, and our second facility has a massive array of solar panels. So I believe we are definitely the biggest in the Dundee Hills, if not in the Willamette Valley, with solar array here to offset energy use. So to get LEED accreditation, you need to go through processes and either remodel, or in our case, construct something with as much in that regard as possible, thinking about environmental friendly and energy efficiency.
Right. And about organic and biodynamics, do you believe that those kinds of practices, I mean, apart from being socially responsible and being conscientious about the land, do you believe they result in better wine?
I think that when you put energy into something, whether it be your vineyard or your winemaking, and you're doing it, say, organically, you're putting extra time and attention. I think, yes, it can result in better wine. Mm-hmm. I can't say that it's the number one best way to farm. I think you have to be very adaptable and really think about your whole system, but what you're doing farming-wise. So I think it can definitely improve quality. For us, our approach here at Stoller and across our vineyards that we work with, we have a sustainable focus. So we don't certify ourselves organic or biodynamic. Mm-hmm. We're live certified, which is an Oregon and Northwest accreditation. We don't use systemics. We're really mindful of erosion. We keep trying to improve upon our practices, but it's flexible so that way we can do the best farming possible. So I guess the answer to your question is it can be, yes. I think if the intention's there and you're taking care of your land and you're a steward of the environment, I think it does show in the product.
Yeah. Let's talk about Oregon for a moment, the Oregon wine industry. It seems that there are a lot of women in the Oregon wine industry and quite a number of women winemakers. Is there something about, I don't know, about Oregon, maybe it's about Pinot Noir that attracts women?
I think that's a good question, and it's something that we've internally talked about, and my colleagues and women colleagues as well. I think it kind of starts with the Oregon history, possibly, as it's a very pioneering state. You know, when people think about migration across the United States from the East Coast, you know, I think a lot of people were going down to a warmer climate, to California and spaces, and some of the crazier folks went north, right? And so they have that pioneering spirit, and I think it remains here in some degree today. And in addition, I believe, you know, it's a young industry across the United States with prohibition in consideration and just time in general compared to other regions. So with that, there is this, you know, progressive kind of factor with winemaking. And yeah, Oregon, I believe, still has the highest percent of women in a managerial or production role across from any other state in the United States. Mm-hmm. And it could be a combination of that, you know, what I was just talking about, and then maybe Pinot Noir does draw women. You know, there's a lot of talk about how Pinot Noir is complex, it's got a lot of nuances, it's very, very reflective, and I think possibly a lot of women are gravitate towards that.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about the aspect of winemaking that you like the most. I mean, I realize that now you also supervise other winemakers in the company, but it's a very, you know, it's very hands-on winemaking. What part of it do you like the most?
I think I still am amazed with winemaking at the variables and the variables that you work with, and yes, you want to guide, but ultimately you can't control. So talking about, in my experience, one estate vineyard that I've worked with for now 17 vintages, and seeing the changes that 1 year can make, and knowing the sections and what all goes into the personality of them, how each year they are unique, and there's a combination of the vintage, of the people, of course the farming and the people doing that, the winemaking all comes together, and that never is the same. And so you have this goal of making a wine from a varietal and being expressive, and you're shepherding all this, but it's never quite exactly how it may be planned. And I think that's fascinating.
Yeah. You know, as you were saying, sort of guiding this piece of land and shepherding a wine, it reminds me that I know that you're the mother of a couple of relatively young children. How do you teach your children about wine?
Well, I try to teach my children about wine. They've grown up in essence here. So yes. I have an 11 and a 15-year-old son, and they still run into the kitchen and think they can just grab snacks, right? They know the whole property and such. When it comes to wine, I talk about the seasons. They see all the work that goes into it during harvest. I used to tell them when they were younger that Mom will be back when all the leaves are off the trees, right? Because it's the fall, and it goes from this lush landscape and all our deciduous trees lose their leaves. And then when wine in general, I just encourage them to smell things and taste things. It's an open table literally at our house. If they want a little wine with dinner, they can have it. Unfortunately, neither of them have any interest right now. And I think back to when I was younger, I would have loved to try wines with dinner, but both of my sons right now just sort of like kind of don't even have any kind of interest. But we'll see what happens with time. They don't have expectations, but they are immersed in the wine lifestyle. My husband, Simon, owns his own vineyard management company since 2007. So both boys see both sides. And my older son, Austin, actually works here in the summer and sometimes on the weekends, and he helps with events, a little bit in the cellar and such. So they're all around it. So I guess the jury is still out.
Yes, yes. Well, it seems like they're well situated to jump in full force if they'd ever like to. Speaking of tasting, though, I wonder if you think that women have some special advantage when it comes to tasting wine or smelling wine. I know it's an area that different women feel different about. Do you think that there's a sensory advantage?
Possibly, yes, if you are thinking about women in a kind of a holistic view of a man and a woman and the feminine energy and masculine energies. And I think females can be very empathetic and nurturing and maybe notice kind of more subtle notes to things in general, possibly because we're designed to have children and take care of these children and all these things that nature has set us up for. So I think that could be true, that women, I think we have this empathetic, kind of observational part about us that a lot of us are very in touch with, that translates well to making wine and tasting wines and the nuances of that. That said, I think I can be blown away by some of the men out there that have an extremely good palate and memory for wine and are cute bottles that they had 10 years ago from this producer and vintage that I'm envious of. So I think it's a human intelligence thing, but I think there is definitely something about women that it's an advantage. It can be an advantage in the wine tasting and winemaking.
Right, yeah. So as as a vice president here, you have you've achieved a lot of success. What character trait do you think you possess that has allowed you to be so successful?
I think that I am very flexible and empathetic. So those two things can be a strength and a weakness at times, but I do really have that flexible nature about me when it comes to working with a vintage, working with a team, and working through time. We all get impatient, I do myself. But I tend to be also an optimist. So I think those two things have had an advantage for me with Oregon winemaking, with being at one place for 17 years with our team and all that. And I also truly love what I do. I love I'm fortunate to work where I do with this beautiful estate and honestly with the people that I work with. Nothing's perfect, but again, I'm an optimist and I feel very grateful. So I would go back to I'm flexible. That's probably one of my biggest reasons for still being here.
And tell us something about you that would surprise most people to learn.
Oh my goodness, that would surprise most people to learn. Oh wow, what would surprise? I like really 90s vintage hip hop music, inappropriately sometimes. That when harvest is happening, I have to make sure that it's not loud. I don't know. I think that's a good question. Surprising, probably. I don't know. I don't like to drink beer. That's not that surprising. There's not anything that shocks. I can disclose anyways on camera. So the things that would shock you, I really don't want to tell you.
Well, I understand. But not drinking beer, that is pretty shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, given that harvest time everywhere in the world, I mean, there's a lot of beer. You know that saying.
Yes.
It takes a lot of beer to make great wine.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's delicious, but beer and me aren't very good friends, so it doesn't work out.
Well, you're in the right place then. Yeah. Stay with wine.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
So our complete interview with Melissa Burr is at winespeed.com's People to Know page. Check it out.